And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Marshall County Today, the new talk show aimed at informing you about stories, people, and businesses around your neighborhood. It is the extension of the Max Morning Show, and it's great to be with you. Our guest today, well, it's going to be a special day from one of our local area churches, as they finally have got the renovation completed for First United Methodist Church, and we welcome in a special guest to kind of talk about that. Introduce yourself, kids.
I'm Pastor Lauren Hall, and I've been at the church for 2 years.
And I'm John Wadley. I'm on the trustees committee.
Well, welcome to the show, and you two probably have to be the most relieved couple in church that this renovation project has finally reached its pinnacle. And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk a little bit. First of all, I want to give a little bit of background of the church. It's been a staple here in our area for years and years and years. So, Pastor Lauren, let's start with you talking about that.
Well, the church was established in 1836, which is a really long time ago. But the building itself was built in 1900s, 1915. So we have been part of downtown Plymouth for over 100 years, and as we serve the population, the community of Plymouth, there's just a lot of different ways that we have been able to help out during the floods, the big floods back in the early 1820s. Ish time frame, we were able to serve all the volunteers, all the volunteers a meal or two while they tried to clean up the mess, and so we try to do things like that as well as ongoing ministries. But the Methodist Church has been around almost as long as Plymouth has, and as when we were sent away from our home, we didn't stop worshiping. We didn't stop doing ministry. We simply were just not where we wanted to be. But we appreciated all the people that hosted us. We appreciated all the different settings we ended up in. But we're definitely happy to be home. It's a beautiful building.
It really is. And John, that was something that, listen, when you have a building that was built in 1915, you're going to have to do some remodeling along the way, right? So, and talk a little bit about what has taken place and some of the aesthetics of the church that when you were doing the remodeling, you wanted to make sure it's still a staple of, so talk a little bit about that.
Couple things here that I want to go over. One is we are the only downtown church in the historic district of Plymouth. And so it was important not only for our congregation, but also for the town to get our church back on its feet, and so that people could start worship again in our sanctuary. One of the couple of obstacles that we had to overcome was, can we save the dome inside the church? And so looking at that from an engineering standpoint, we had some obstacles because in 1978, the tornadoes or the winds that came through took off the outside part of the dome. And when it was refurbished, there were some weaknesses in the superstructure of the dome. And so that started putting pressure on the outside walls. And at that time, we had an engineer come in there, and he had said that we can't worship in there. And that was 5 years ago next month. So it's been a long time of getting it back together. But over the time, we worked out the logistics of getting our church back together again. That
really was priority number one for the whole remodeling, wasn't it? The dome.
It was, if we could save it. But priority number one was to, hopefully at that time, was to get our church back into a safe mode where the congregation could come back and worship in it. Our church is considered an Akron church, an Akron Methodist church, meaning that it has a balcony and it had classrooms up on the second floor that opened up or looked over our sanctuary. And it was built that way so that kids in the classrooms upstairs could open up the doors and listen to the sermons. Right. And so it's a really unique church. And we've had the Historic Society Sacred Places in Indianapolis that works in saving churches. And the director there looked at our church and said, this is a church that really has to be saved, or a building that has to be saved. And so everybody got involved with it. The town got involved with it. The congregation got involved with it. And Sacred Places down in Indianapolis got involved. So
and you kind of took the answer from my next question. I mean, it was more than just the congregation coming together and helping, remodel the place to get it where it needed to be. You had a lot of folks want to be part of this restoration part, which I found extremely awesome. But I mean, it was the fact that everybody understood what the purpose of that church, your church, meant to our community. And in talking with folks, not just some of your congregation people that I wonderfully know, but it was the fact that everybody was going to make this happen no matter what, and I think that speaks an awful lot to what you guys do. And Pastor Lauren, you're a couple years there now. The congregation, man, you got a special group.
They are special, and their determination and their endurance really showed through. But also just everybody, the people that needed to come forward at the times that they did. We simply have to ask, and people are there helping to clean up or helping to move things out of the building. At one point during the construction process, we actually had a normal church accident, and the water heater malfunctioned, and we had a flood in the basement, and we made a phone call and said we need people to help get things out of the church, and people were there within an hour. We had plenty of people helping just to do that, and even I forget the name of it. Even companies,
right? That helped out.
Came, they were there. They said, yeah, we are invested in this church, and we want to make sure that it can. We can save it. So when before the basement had a chance to get moldy from all the moisture, we had the plaster taken down or out and remove the carpeting and those sorts of things. And
so what you're saying, this wasn't an easy process, huh?
No.
This wasn't an easy remodeling journey for you guys.
Well, there are two catastrophes. One is on the sanctuary, which happened in 2019, and the second one was when the basement flooded, or the lower level flooded, which was
that was last year.
Last year, so
wow.
2023. So we had to contend with both of those problems. And the first one that we attacked and brought back was the lower level, and then working into and they were being worked on simultaneously. So it was,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But that had to be a lot of second guessing, and but even more so the fact that you guys were able to pray about it. That was big. And here we are talking about a celebration of a remodeled, awesome church again. And talk a little bit about because I'm sure it could have been very easy to just fold up and say we can't do this. You wouldn't be human if you didn't have the second thoughts. But again, the good Lord, He's right there saying, no, just be steadfast, move forward, keep moving. And that's what you guys did. When you talk a little bit about going through this kind of, and again, what you guys were able to accomplish in the remodeling of this church, I don't know if I can do it justice just with this interview. You really need to kind of go see it because it's just beautiful, And was the aesthetic part, how important was that aesthetic part in the priority list for you guys? And I bring this up because, worship is worship, no matter where you had. You just said it a little bit ago. We were going places, and people were hosting us so we can have our services. It just seemed that the aesthetic beauty of it just came to be. I don't know if it was intentional, but it just happened, which makes this even a more neat story.
When we looked at the problems of the church, our first thoughts was, can we save the church? Can we save the building? Because at the end of the road, it's just the building.
Right.
But we believe, and I think it bears itself out, is that God had a plan. And in that plan was put that church back together, that building back together, so that we can come back in there and have our Sunday services. And that's what's taken place. So the aesthetics of it, we were able to save the attributes of the inside of the sanctuary, one of them being the dome. And we get concerts in there, the South Bend Symphony. Mm-hmm. Part of that comes down to say because of the
acoustics.
The acoustics of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not so much the beauty. I mean, the beauty is important. When the church was designed in the 1900s, that was the style of church, and it reminds us of theaters, because churches were designed after theaters because we didn't have sound systems. So in order to hear, for 350 people to be able to hear the pastor in the front, you had to have a design that would carry the voice. And so that's what the dome does. And it reminds me of the Reese and some of the renovations that they did there, because both of those buildings were built around the same time and probably had similar architects. But the dome itself with the acoustics is really the primary why we wanted to keep the dome. We could have lived without the dome. Another generation, they wouldn't even remember what it looked like.
Right.
They would see pictures. But I think part of the beauty of the church is simply so many of our members they were born in Plymouth, they were raised in that church. Their parents and their grandparents were part of the church, and just trying to reinvest in the investment that our ancestors provided to allow the structure to continue into the future, because so many buildings that we have now are temporary. They're temporary structures, and the wind can blow them down. Yeah. But these types of buildings were designed to last for a while, and I think part of that has to do with our understanding and our belief in God's plan. Is like we aren't building a building. We aren't building a building for now. We're building a building for the future, and the purpose of that building is to bring people into it and to be awed by God's wonder. Right. And so part of the aesthetic part is just to have that feeling when you go into God's house. When I was in South America, they have a lot of beautiful churches down there. And one of the questions that was asked by my group is, is it fair that the people that come to worship here are so poor, and you have all this gold and beauty? And the priest told me at the time, he said, but isn't it amazing that when you have absolutely nothing, you're still welcome in a place like this? And that's what we are doing with these structures. And I think sometimes, the house I live in is a great house, but it doesn't measure up to the beauty of that church. And it's an amazing thing to every day have the opportunity to walk into a place that just reminds me of God's glory.
Absolutely. And John, I think this may be a softball question for you, since you're part of the board. Finances. I mean, during this 5-year tenure, especially when it came down to the bricks and mortar and everything you needed to get this remodeling done, I'm sure finances really was a discussion in about every meeting you guys had. Did you ever waver?
No.
Did anybody ever waver thinking, man, I don't know if we can do this?
No. We knew that our congregation would overwhelmingly support us. And we looked at it and we said, how much is it going to take or cost to put the church back together? And between the insurance money and the funds that we had raised, is that we did not have to go borrow any funds to get our church back in order. So the congregation really jumped up and supported everything we were doing. And we see that now with the attendance back in church. Pastor Lauren put together a streaming for the services when we were out of the church. and that was a real big success there.
We're talking about the renovation of First United Methodist Church, and you guys are going to be celebrating all this this coming Sunday. Pastor Lauren, you want to talk about that?
Yes, we decided that a lot of people have been staring at the building with a big sign on it for several years saying rebuilding First Church, and then we changed the sign, and then a bunch of large vehicles came in for a while and did some work, and you could tell that there was some work being done. And I think as people have walked by, if people have driven by, they've wondered, what are they doing? And even as I've gone around town and met people, they ask me, what are you guys doing there? And we want to show people. We want to show people not just the building itself. The building is beautiful because through these problems that we faced, we have had opportunities to renovate and make things
tweak it to be better.
Yeah, I was going to say
tweak it to be better.
We wanted to make them better. So things are nice, and what we don't want to just show off the building. We would like to also share all the ministries that we're involved in, the different areas of the community that we interact with and have helped and assisted, and some of the ministries we have, because we do more than just worship on Sunday morning.
Now, do you give like the little tours or anything? I mean, do you provide those with all the renovation and stuff, that's the remodeling that's been done?
We haven't yet because it was unsafe for people to walk through the building. But as people have come since we were able to worship about 5 weeks ago, if people want to take a look, they've been welcome to take a look. But during this open house that we're having on Sunday, we will be giving tours, and they can be self-guided, or we will have tour guides around as well to talk about some of the renovations, to show pictures of where we were and where we are now, and
provide some history of this beautiful building.
Exactly.
Beautiful church.
I think one of the things that we want to say is that the community came together to help us. And in the community, we looked to see who we could hire. For example, construction people.
Local construction, yeah.
Painters, electric. And so I would be remiss in not mentioning those people. For example, and really the one that I think saved us, or certainly added to our success of getting back into ours, was United Church of Christ. They opened their doors for us. They let us have our services there. We had 2 services there, a morning service and a late morning service. Then we went into the construction, and Brent Martin, the architect, really helped us out. Brown & Brown, the construction company, did a great job. Banner Electric, Tony McGann painting, Frank Vest painting in the sanctuary. All of those people coming together, helping put our church back to where it is today, which is as good, if not better. We're basically a brand new church. We got new electricity. We have been painting. The structure is sound. It will last long after I'm gone, and so it doesn't get any better than that.
Absolutely. We've been talking about the First United Methodist Church and their remodeling that took place. It's been quite a journey, and patience had to be a virtue for you guys. And how about that? I mean, we haven't talked about the frustration part of in this journey here, because you guys obviously have been blessed. Don't get me wrong, but listen, unfortunately we're also human, and sometimes that frustration can really test your longevity in things. And so, the fact that you guys have been able to overcome that, Pastor Lauren, there needs to be some pats on the back for everybody involved here, right?
There does. The congregation has been very strong through the whole process. And of course, I came in towards the end of it. Our previous pastor, Tony Carmer, was very much involved in the disappointing part. She was there when we found out there were problems, and then of course having to face a pandemic and delays. But through it all, we just have to remember that humans want to just charge through things and
Yes,
get
we do.
things done. But
Yep.
sometimes we have to step back. We have to just wait on God's plan. And we, as we've waited and as we've watched and as God has led us in different directions, we've embraced God's leadership. And at times people are like, why aren't we getting anything done? And then when we finally take the step, they're glad that we waited and took the right step rather than a lot of wrong steps, because we look at our ancestry, we look in the scriptures, and we see God leading people through things, and it's
Frustration of the people,
Yeah.
and
it's never fast.
no, never.
One of the things, as you mentioned, that there's certain people that really went beyond the normal task of getting us back together. The one person that I want to mention is Ed Langfeld. Ed took it upon himself to make sure he understood the plans, the architectural plans of putting it back together, and would go up into the attic on the dome with the plans and look at the plans so that he understood what was going to take place and what needed to be done. And again, that was God's plan in my mind, to put that person in charge of the renovation, and couldn't have happened without him.
Yeah. Well, I want to go through, because I'm already out of time. Give me everything. The celebration that you're going to have this Sunday is going to be after church or throughout the entire, from the time you hit the pulpit?
We worship at 9:30, and of course anyone's welcome to join us in worship, and that will end around 10:30, and then our congregation will break to prepare for the open house. The open house officially begins at 1 p.m. and it will continue till 3. If someone walks in the building at 5 till 3 and we didn't have a chance to see the same thing, we will still share the building with you. And but there is going to be a service of gratitude at 2, where we recognize some of the people that have helped us, and there'll be our organist Kay Finley will be playing along with our pianist, and so we have some beautiful music to share, and just some recognition of some of the volunteers, not just within our church but also outside of it.
Well, I'm very excited for you, proud of you guys, and like I said, it doesn't matter what church, for me, and this is why when I was asked to have you guys come on, it was no brainer, because we need to be promoting the Spirit of God everywhere as much as we can, and whether it's your church or another church, we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat, and so, like I said, I am so proud of you guys, and keep up the great work and the ministry that you do. Pastor Lauren, you seem you're going to be hanging around for a very long time, and that's a very good thing. And so, thank you for your wisdom and your ability to lead the congregation in the right direction. Because look at this, we got almost a brand new church. So
that's it.
We do.
That's fantastic. So, say hi to our friends at First United Methodist Church, and hopefully I'll try to stop by. I'll try to stop by on Sunday to see if I can take a quick little tour, because it sounds like it's absolutely beautiful. So, John, thank you.
Thank you.
Lauren, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, that's it for our Marshall County Today show, and we'll be back to wrap it up after this.